the truth.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Saturday Night Cell Block. Tonight I got me a special in-house guest, Mr. Damon Thrash. I'll let him introduce himself in a second, but first, let me say that many blessings to those out there that are trying to survive in today's climate. If you're out there, you're homeless, you're trying to find you a place to sleep, food, warmth, my blessings are with you. Much power to you. For those that are addicted, trying to get off, much power to you. You can do it. Have faith in yourself and reach out to us, either one of us. You can find me at www.cominghomecoalition.com. We have a project there called Project Start Fresh. We have an individual by the name of Eddie who we're bringing from homelessness to self-sufficiency. And with that, we're doing a raffle. So please go check out our raffle to help with that. You can win Tampa Bay Ray tickets to the upcoming season. So please look out for that. Help us with that. So many blessings to everybody out there. Again, thank you for joining in. And Mr. Damon.
My name is Damon Thrash, and I'm the founder of Ink to Ink, Incarcerated to Incorporated. We're a smart justice and micro business development agency. We have two active programs. One is called Path to Success. It's an entrepreneurial prep program and life skills program. It's one of our local schools here in Tampa. The other one is the RC Community Rebuild program. It's a STEM program where we're partnered with Hobbytown USA of Brandon, kids who come from underserved communities who have one or more parent that's incarcerated. We give them an RC kit, and they build that car from kit to completion, and they learn STEM. Our main program, though, that we're getting ready to launch on the 14th, be on the lookout for our Kickstarter, is Hustle Smarter. It's the first ever program that transitions street hustlers who are entrepreneurial and had leadership roles in the streets into social entrepreneurs that positively impact the community. So we're excited about that. And you can tap in with me at Damon at inktoink.org, or you can go to our website, www.inktoink.org.
Yeah, so Damon and I are going to be working together on many facets of many things here in the Hillsborough County area. And tonight we're just going to give you a kind of a little in-depth view of who we are as characters and why we founded our organizations and why we came to be who we are and what pushes our organizations. Damon and I have been discussing all day on many different topics, but the main topic is one, consistency and desire, right? Passion.
Yeah.
You know, what is driving you? What drives you? What's your passion? So we're going to get into a little bit of what our passion is tonight. And with me, a lot of my viewers already know, I was convicted of 5 kilos or more of distributing cocaine. It's conspiracy to distribute 5 kilos or more of cocaine. It carried a 10 to life sentence. It's a minimum mandatory that was passed by Bill Clinton, that you, with this statute that I had, I could receive no less than 10 years. With that statute alone, I'm gone. 10 years, bam, a decade, out the door. My end could be life. So I fall within that category of 10 to life. This is the pressure of what was on me. I had no idea what this even meant going in.
Right.
But as it started to be explained to me, I could come up under this 10.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But you gotta do a little something.
Right.
You know what I mean? You gotta give us a little something. So with me, right, I get pulled over. They do what did you call it?
It's an investigatory inquiry.
An investigatory
Investigatory inquiry inquiry done by either a state or a federal agency, just to mark your whereabouts to make sure that they got the right person and that they're tracking you efficiently. Because every move you make, when they put certain agents on you, those are billable hours. So they track those dollars. So that was like a spot check. We'll get more into that a little bit later though.
And see, I don't know this at the time, right? All I know is I'm being pulled over by this police and I'm being asked these questions, right? And I'm sitting in this cop car unbeknownst of what is going on around me. So I get pulled over thinking that the tag on my car is no good. And the cop pulls me out and tells me that I have a warrant in Virginia. So long story short, in the sake of time, I'm in the back of this squad car. But the most important part of this story is he comes as he's on the phone with somebody and lifts up my shorts, and I have a scar on my leg, and he lifts up my shirt and sees that I have a tattoo. He's on the phone with somebody. He closes the door. Now, mind you, about an hour goes by, and you have press out. You have cops in suits. There's 60 people out here on the side of this road waiting for something to happen. And here I am. I have no clue what's going on. So cop comes, opens the door, says, okay, you're free to go. So he lets me out. Now I know that this ain't right because he marked me by the scar and the tattoo. Unbeknownst, as Damon said, these cops had no idea who I was, where I lived at, knew nothing about me. And this was them finding out what I look like, tying a face to the name that they were hearing all over town, right? Tying a face to it and getting an address. Who is this person? Where does he live?
Also, too, though, the lead case agent was giving them direction because that's why they wanted to know, does he have a tattoo on his leg? Where's the scar at? Because they were looking at a file. You know, they didn't want to expose their hand at the time. So
now watch this, YouTube. Because I didn't say this to this man earlier. Now you heard what he just said. Now, the day that they come and arrest me, I didn't say this earlier. The day they come and arrest me, the lead agent comes in. Right before he comes in, the feds got me up against the wall. I'm telling the feds the same thing that the cop told me 2 weeks earlier. Listen, man, I just went through this like 2 weeks ago, and they told me there's a man out there with my same name but different social security number. So now these agents, they got me all hogtied and they're like, do we have the right guy? The lead agent walks in. Yeah, we got the right guy. He said, Mr. Harold, he goes, I was the one that he was on the phone with that day. He said, I'm the one that let you go. And all I did was, look, I got my face all against the wall like this here. I look back. Thank you. You know what I mean? But we can get into that. But
yeah,
this was the start of something that I knew nothing about. I was thrust into a world that it's just into a world that we're going to get into where demons are exposed, right? We run around with people, human beings, all day, and these human beings wear masks. They wear clothing. You have no idea who these human beings are until these human beings are put into a pressure cooker.
Right.
Yeah. And that heat is what sears all of that exterior out to expose the core of who this individual is. And until you go through that and you see that depravity in human beings, right? This goes into some of the PTSD that we experience as coming home from this type of environment, this type of treachery from human beings that we've been exposed to. Is it changes you. It changes you. So you tell me about your experience and how all of it came down for you.
So, just backstory on growing up, man. I grew up in kind of household where, my stepdad, he hustled, and he was a pretty legendary dude in the streets. So I kind of got my hustle PhD at home.
Mm-hmm.
So just picking up all the stuff that I was learning from him and my uncles. We always have those legendary dudes in the streets that you hear about later on. And I discovered that this was my stepdad, this was my uncles, and different people from where I'm from. So when I entered into the streets, it was kind of easy for me uh, because I was kind of groomed for it. So I was the cat that didn't go to. I had a 10-year run before I went to prison. I was the cat that came out of the neighborhood that always made bond, that kind of had a little bit of discipline once I, stopped, fucking off, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I was 19, man, I was moving about 3 to 4 keys a week easily, ripping up and down the road from Miami back to Pensacola. I'm from Pensacola, Florida. Going out to Texas and Arizona, you know. Uh, but when I hit 2021, I had got to a point to where I was pretty much set. But I started traveling and I kind of got the feel that, man, there's so much more to the world, and I didn't want to hustle no more because that's all I knew. But I realized something: the people that I was meeting, besides me having the luxury items and lifestyle that they had, we had nothing in common. I really couldn't even carry a conversation outside of a street conversation with these people. And then at the time, you couldn't tell me I was still a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So not having a mentor that could walk me and transition me out of the streets was the reason why I didn't have an end game. You can have all the money in the world, all the properties, all the nice cars or whatever, and still be miserable, man. I was miserable, especially, how the game go when you're taking care of everybody. And this is an experience for a street hustle. I'm gonna mention this. A lot of y'all out there who were operating at a certain level will get it. You ever feed somebody for so long, and then when you pull everything away from them, they turn on you? That's what I experienced when I stepped away from the streets.
So I passed out when you said that.
Yeah, I experienced it, man. And I didn't have a self-identity outside of being a street hustler. So my lady at the time, she was a good girl. And you know what we do, man. We turn good girls bad. Jay said it the best. She was trying to get me to go back to school, try and do more, with your investments and things that you're building. Because I was dealing with a lot of car dealers and club promotion. My uncle owned a bunch of nightclubs, so we was doing promotion through him and real estate, a couple of other things. So eventually, I end up, watching my close associates all tumble and fall.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about them was, though, they were actively in the streets after, getting that warning. Warning always comes before destruction.
Mm-hmm. Always.
So if you're out in the streets and you're moving heavy, the first people who are going to start calling you are your cousins and homeboys from federal prison, saying, "Hey, man, got a line with some hot dudes up here. These people, they running intel on y'all. Shut it down." If you're not established enough to shut it down, or you're greedy, you keep going because this all you know. For me, I had my stepdad, I had all my cousins, my aunt, one of my aunts, man, Aunt Mary, what's up, baby? She's one of the strongest women in the game. And, they kind of groomed me to say, hey, you got enough, sit down. So I sat down for like a little over a year. So when the initial indictments came out with my partners, I didn't get hit because, for one, I wasn't in their immediate circle. We dealt with the same people. I was dealing with Panamanians and Haitians. They were dealing with some Haitian people that were connected to me that I knew and associated with. But when they got indicted, later on when they rolled on me, you know how you get your investigatory case file.
Yep. The discovery. Yep.
The discovery. So my lawyer showed me the DVD. There was DVDs back then.
Yep. DVDs.
And it showed the case agent interviewing one of my associate partners, asking about me. They didn't know that I hadn't been indicted yet. So when they discovered that I wasn't arrested, That's when they went into telling them everything they could about me to
How did,
save themselves.
how did that feel for you to pop in that DVD and see that for the very first time?
It made me sick to my stomach because I was sitting in jail with a $500,000 bond on one count, $1 million bond on two counts, and I think the other three. I think I had a $500,000 bond on the other three counts too. I was indicted under a 5 count state indictment that was originally funded by the feds that went to the grand jury, but there was misconduct in the case,
Mm-hmm,
and it was kicked back down to the state.
mm-hmm.
You know, so my indictment was for in excess of 150 kilos, and to see someone so close to me basically tell someone who we didn't know, of course it's law enforcement, it kind of like startled me at a point. It didn't even make me angry because my stepdad and my dad and my aunt would always tell me, when they come, you need to have your hands clean and be ready to accept your responsibility because your homies ain't gonna be able to hold that weight. Y'all doing too much,
Mm-hmm.
So it just, man, it's sickening, man. At that time too, once I got over that fact and started fighting my cases, we're in that street mentality, we're in that street mind where we want to crush them like cockroaches. We want to do everything we can. We want to see them suffer. But, and I'll get to this later, as I progressed through prison and started educating myself and discovering who I was as a person, man, forgiveness came over me at that point. So now we're good. I can sit around and talk to any other 23 people that, roll back on me on my case, But at that particular time, it was somebody so close to me that we were so close, man, that I never thought it would be like that. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, I ended up beating 4 of the cases. But on the last count, it was a sale of, they had me on 3 sales. And this is a part of the reason why the U.S. Attorney's Office was like, no, aside from the misconduct. A sale for a quarter key, sale for a half a key, and an attempted sale for a whole key. But the attempted sale, my partner who was with me peeped game because the person who I was serving, I had no idea that they weren't qualified to spend this type of money. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And when he alerted me to it, he was like, man, just give me the work. So I gave him the key. He goes out the back door and just run. Me and my other partner jump in the rental car. And when we pulled out the complex, that's when DEA rushed and they used the state to pull us over and get intel or whatever. But I was under a bywalk. They wanted to see who my plug was. So
Mm-hmm.
even though they had me on the 9, then they had me on the 18, they still didn't want to. They still didn't take me in on the whole key attempted purchase because they wanted to continue to gather intel, and it was 2 multiple investigations going on, and I was centered toward those investigations. So about 2 hours under interrogation at that site, and my attorney pulling up. That's another thing too, but I ain't playing. I paid my bills, bondsman, paid my attorneys up, and I don't care. One time I went to jail for resisting arrest without violence for running,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave me a 50 grand bond. You think I sat in jail?
That's what they do.
Bro, man, the dude was in the cell talking about, bro, you can wait till in the morning and drop your, bro, I'll holler at y'all. Y'all want this little money I got in my pocket?
Yeah.
I was out the door, because when you moving at that rate and at that level, you ain't got time to be sitting in there for some inquiry to pop up and they put a hold on you.
And you put a hold on you. You don't want to sit in there at all because anything can come out. Anything can come up.
Especially when you pushing.
And that goes to the snitches though as well. Is that what we'll get into? Because when these rat bastards hear that, oh, Damon's in the jail.
Yeah.
Damon's in the jail.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I got a homeboy that needs to get out of prison, man. We can,
What are you in jail for?
Because you're down and you can't defend yourself.
Yeah.
See, and it goes back into what you were saying earlier, right? See, like with me, I was brought into this conspiracy. I was brought into it because out of the kindness of my heart, helping my partner, right? My partner. I'm thinking, we can put their names out there, right? I mean, shit, it's
Bro,
public.
it's public record.
It's public record. So okay, so my partner at the time was Freddie,
Right.
Puerto Rican dude named Freddie, right? So Freddie, we had our own thing going. Now Freddie, how I knew that Freddie was a soft ass dude because we were going down to Miami. Freddie had his own thing going through his pops. His pops was a big dude from back in the day.
Right.
Okay, his pops gets out, and his dumb ass gets right back into a conspiracy down in Sarasota and a bust down in a warehouse, right?
Yeah.
And now he's gone for life. Okay.
Didn't wait them 3 years. Huh?
So Freddie had this plug down in Miami. Now this plug down in Miami was straight screwing Freddie. Like this stuff was more cut than it was coat.
Right.
And I keep telling, because they're down there speaking Spanish, I don't understand what they're talking about. But so me and Freddie, and I'm sitting there telling him, like, man, this stuff is garbage. Like you can't even bring it back.
Right.
You can't even bring it back. And this dude's charging mid-20s for this. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, you got to tell something about this dude, or we got to cut him off, because this is now my homeboy that I grew up with, Mikey. He had his own thing going. Now, Mikey was younger than me, and I grew up with his older cousin, Lamont, right? And we all kind of grew up like going back to where Mikey was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To where me and Lamont, we as jits, we crossed the street and broke into the baseball field and stole all the candy out of the baseball field as kids and gave it to little Mikey. Yeah. Sent little Mikey to middle school with a duffel bag of candy to go sell for us. You know what I mean? This is what we were doing, all of us. Now, Mikey's doing his own thing. Now, going back to what we were talking about earlier, these dudes were clowns. Mikey wasn't. Mikey wasn't a clown, but he wanted to be the Big Willie.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Always won.
Now, his partner, Joe, who was a straight queer, you know what I mean, went to prison the first time, and I'll get into him in a little bit. You know what I mean? But his partner, Joe, they were working together, doing their own thing. But these dudes are in this small little town running around, popping bottles. They got 18 cars running around in small little Pasco County.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I stayed away from these dudes. You know what I mean? I knew that these dudes were clowns. Like one of the dudes, these were the type of dudes that would go get a Caprice and try to make it look like an Impala.
Right.
And then try to sit there and swear to you that it's an Impala. These were the type of dudes that they were. You know what I mean? And I knew that, and I stayed away from these people. But dealing with Freddie and his plug, it was costing us more money than what we was making. So it came around to
that's
where
breaking even and drawing heat.
Hustling backwards. Yeah. Hustling backwards is what we were doing.
Yeah.
So there was a dead spot in between there, and I had a little bit of cash spot, and I'm telling Freddie, man, just hold on and just sit back, something will come. This was coming to Christmas of 2002. Freddie's broke because he's a Puerto Rican that loves to be out there, pretty boy. This is the type of dude he is. He wanted to portray that he was this image because his dad was this image and whatnot. He wasn't. He was just a little doughboy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A little butterball. So he came to me one night. He's like, man, just call your homeboy. Just call your homeboy and get one of them and set it up, and I'll go to the mall and pick it up, and you ain't got to deal with it. Just call him and set it up. Kept begging me. It's Christmas time. I can't pay my bills, can't pay the rent, blah, blah, blah. So bam, okay. I'll call and set it up. Set it up. Everything went smooth. Go back to the house, crack it open, and you know how when you hit that thing and it just hits you right in the face.
Yeah.
You start sweating. You know what I mean?
And another thing too, not to glorify the game because we passed that. That was a genocide, but we just giving y'all experiences from, most people don't know when you open up your first key, if it's off the bolt, it's compressed. It's gonna hit you. If it's been tampered with or touched, it ain't gonna have a vacuum seal on it as tight as it would off the bolt. So that's what he's speaking of. But we ain't glorifying the streets. We ain't glorifying hustling. We just giving you experiences and giving you play by play on how things.
The emotions.
Right.
The emotions of how we get tied up into what we get tied up into, because like he just said, when I open this off the boat and it hits you like that, you know that you're getting ready to make some serious money now. Now we're in the game.
Absolutely.
Now we're in the game. You know what I mean? And as much as I hated going through him, our profit was you couldn't stop it. And my whole time I'm like, you know what, we'll just do this one and then sit back a little bit. Let me just make up a little bit of the money I've been spending since I ain't. Mm-hmm. And then but then when that comes, the next one, well, let me just hit one more. But I came into this and this dude was already tapped.
Yeah.
He was already tapped. Now, Mikey comes to my house one night about 3 a.m., right? I think it was like a Tuesday night. He sits down with me just like this. He says, man, I got to talk to you. He says, man, a little while ago, a dude named Joe, I can't remember this punk ass dude's name. Joe something, man. Damn, I want to call his name so bad. He was with his girl at a trailer.
Yeah.
Okay? This is how the whole thing started. But none of this know this right now. This just happened. He just explaining to me what happened. So he's like, man, Joe's girl called the police on Joe and put Joe in jail. And he said the funniest thing happened because Joe got out of jail on a Sunday night. He calls me.
So y'all county, you can't bond out on Sunday night.
It's very, very rare, but back then, no. Because bondsmen were usually closed by that time, because this happened like on a Saturday night or whatnot. There was only one or two bondsmen. But it is possible. Maybe he had a bondsman. Yeah, it's possible, but you got to explain.
You got to have a really good relationship with a bondsman for them to get out of bed.
And some of us did, because a lot of these bondsmen were cokeheads. You know what I mean? A lot of them were people that had addiction issues. But
my bondsman told me, come get me from off the sun. That's how tight we was. You know what I mean?
Come get you off the
sun. The sun. Yeah. Because I used to bond out smokers, anybody that was in jail. Hey, I just just go get this person in. I got him a lot of business.
You got to. You have to get these people out. But so he's telling me the story. And what it was that his girl called the police, said he was a drug dealer. The police come there. They were arguing out. He got scratches on him. She got scratches on her, blah, blah, blah. And the police ended up searching his car and finding an 8-ball of coke in his car, and then went in the trailer and found a kilo of cocaine in the trailer. But he's telling Mikey that he didn't get charged with the kilo because the trailer is a rental and it's not in his name. And that the owner of the rental came there. They called the owner down there, and the owner didn't claim it. Nobody claimed it, so nobody got charged with it. He said he only got charged with the 8-ball of coke. So I'm looking at Mikey the whole time like this here. Like, you came here to my house with this dumbass shit. You believe that? I said, first off, Mikey, this is Pasco County. There ain't no way in hell these cops are going to find a kilo of cocaine and nobody's going to get arrested for that. Ooh. Somebody's getting arrested for that. And if that owner of that trailer shows up there and says it's not his, guess who it is? And furthermore, if they found an 8-ball of cocaine in his car already and charged him for it, that key of cocaine is his as well. Too. What the hell are you talking about, Mikey?
Right.
And I told him flat, I said, Mikey, I said, listen to me. Just like I'm talking to you. Mikey, listen to me. If you deal with him, I'm not dealing with you no more. I'm not dealing with you no more. Yeah. He's like, man, but he owes me for that key. Man, fuck that money. Let that money go.
Yeah.
He is a rat. He's snitching, dog. That's the only, I said, you're crazy. You're crazy if you think anything otherwise. So he's like, man, you're right, man. You're right. I'm not fucking with him no more. The dude kept messing with him.
But he greedy. He don't have the money that he's supposed to have. And
because he wants to get that 20 stacks back.
He wants to, he doesn't have the money that he's portraying he has. I went through something like this with some of the people who I used to deal with. Similar story, but go ahead. I'll tell you on the back end.
So this was the whole thing. Now, like I told you, when I get arrested, when they come in and when they pulled me over, not when I got arrested, but when they pulled me over and I went through that ordeal and I went home and cleaned my house out, I told my baby mom at that time, book a flight. It was right around her birthday. We're going to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
We went to the Bahamas for a week. I meet somebody down in the Bahamas. right? Now, this is a jack game in itself. And let me tell
Bimini.
you, people, right, how this jack game goes. Because I got jacked in the Bahamas, but it was smooth how he did it. So I'm sitting at the bar. I asked the bartender for some weed. Bartender, yeah, I know a guy. He sends a guy over here. Guy comes to me. He pulls out a little bit of cocaine. I say, nah, I don't need no coke. I need weed. But shit, I can use a boatload of that back at home. He said, really? Okay, well, I got somebody you need to talk to. So they take me to this dude. This dude, they take me in the backwoods of someplace into a restaurant, walk me to the back of the restaurant, and show me all these bricks. Tells me, he says, listen, we got a guy in Miami. This is what you do when you get back to Miami. This is a long story short. When you get back to Miami, you wire us this here, right? And we'll make sure that this gets sent to you. That's the game.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? That's free money for these people.
Oh yeah.
All day long. So we're down there for a week. I come back. Freddie comes to my house with a quarter key of dope. Hard. Right?
Scam you not right now.
Telling me that while you was gone, telling me that while you was gone, I went and got this here to get by, blah, blah, blah. I take that, right? I still not thinking that he has anything, you know what I'm saying? So I take that and I had a lady that I took most of my stuff to. I take her this whole thing and drop it to her and tell her just to give it to me. You know what I mean? Because she's like, what am I supposed to? Don't worry about that. Get it to me when you get it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my TikTok. My TikTok went down. They can switch over to the YouTube. So what ends up happening is I get back to the house. My stepson at the time, because my daughter was conceived while we were in the Bahamas. My stepson at the time was about 5.5, right? So he was sleeping in our bed. And instead of me waking him up and putting him back in his bed, I just went in, because I got back about 5 o'clock in the morning. So I went and slept in his bed, right? Soon as I passed out, you hear it, bam, 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 bam. Feds come in, put me up, throw me up, and then that's when the agent walked in. But from that point on, all they had against me was one phone call. One phone call. And I knew when I made that phone call.
You could feel it, huh?
Homie, listen to me.
Yeah.
Listen to me, man. Listen to me, homeboy. Listen to me, man. When I made that phone call, I was so sick. My baby mom walked out of the room and saw me, and instantly, Papi, what's wrong? I said, man, I just did some of the stupidest shit I've ever done in my life. And it was because it was hot outside. And what it was, Mikey went down south and got some bunk stuff from down south because he cooked. My people were sniffers. So when he got that bunk stuff from down there, I got the junk from him because my people will take it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? He never gave me a PR. So the next time I see Mikey, I tell Mikey, I say, listen, I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to pick you up. Blah, blah, blah. We going out. By the way, you never gave me the PR on that before. Right? He tells me, oh, yeah, okay. Just give me 10 stacks for that. I hung up the phone right then. I curled over like this here, and I knew it. I knew it. I felt it in my spine. And dog, when these people brought me in there, and they played that tape about, they sat me down, oh, we got you, we finally got you, and they hit that play, it was that damn call.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I know the feeling, man.
You know it. You feel it in your...
You feel it as soon as it happened, man. On the flip side, I never used the phone. Never talked on the phone, old school. But, we had the prime code. We had the phones when people didn't have them, when it was a big thing. But we never talked business over the phone. We just arranged times and just made sure stuff was confirmed. Everything good? Yeah. Stuff like that. But for me and my best friend, we were moving some units. I had a separate connect than he had. And we would kind of watch each other's back, He ended up meeting some people. And within that process of watching each other's back, he's getting some pretty good work. Um, so I could take his work, and that's the thing about me. I knew how to cook and know how to recompress before anybody was doing that. Uh, Learned how to cook from my old boy and a dude named Miami Stan uh, from Opalaka. Well, I would take his work if I buy 4 on a baby, and I would double it. I knew how to stretch using powdered milk, water, especially if it was oil based, you know. So I'm coming up off of him. And me, I always was kind of conservative. I would like to save my money, and I didn't like to really flaunt. Um, so as we started moving, and I met my people, it got better numbers. So now I'm re-rocking, and I'm also taking all of the oil-based work that I get. I take a quarter out. I put a mixture of procaine and powdered milk from Wick, not the white stuff you buy at the store, but the brown.
Mm-hmm.
Sift it out, re-sift the whole key in a punch bowl, spray it down with water, mold it, and then put it in a compressing vise and retape it. Sell them quarters, sell them half, sell them 400 babies, and it was crazy. So the margins that I was making, it was just ridiculous. Um, but what changed my shift that put me on the radar with law enforcement, one of my OGs got out, who I used to work for. And when he got out, what I was doing was moving around the city real low key and just dealing with family members.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the time my aunt was still in the streets who I used to work for. So my aunt was still doing her thing, moving units. And I had a bunch of cousins and a bunch of homeboys that I grew up with. So I might get 2-3 bricks, re-rock them or whip them, bro, they gone in a couple of days. And I wasn't the type of dude that'll jump up and go right then. I'll take 2 weeks because I just made, 40 bands, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And people still owe me 13, 14, and still got a little work left.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, things were moving good. But when my partner got out, this is the best hustler I ever seen in my life. God bless his dad, his name David Potter. People call him Chicken Mouth, man. I'm talking about with a paradise and with he just had the gift of gab. I learned so much game from this dude. I learned how to hustle from my stepdad, but I learned the art of persuasion from Chick.
Mm-hmm.
Make a friend, make a sale. You know what I mean? One who bears many gifts have many friends. He used to have another saying, say, I stick my hand on the ground and make the world go round. He had another saying where he would say, I get money so fast, I get it out the garbage can. All you gotta do is point to me where one at.
Mm-hmm.
And it was serious. So when he got out, all the great things that he did for me in the streets, man, he just kept me laced, kept me plugged in, and just kept giving me game, And I always had a tenacity to hustle, because back then I was chasing cars. This is when the game was really open market for hard. It was like 89, 90, And I'm hustling, man, really not knowing what this money was for, but just having fun. You know what I mean? Laced and fresh every day, going out of town with the OGs, you know what I mean? Just playing as a kid. But once he came home, I had developed a sort of maturity in the streets and in the game. And with the people that I was dealing with, I brought him into the fold.
Mm-hmm.
He thought that, when you're in prison, you hear things. You hear, oh, man, your boy out there, he doing pretty good. You know what I mean? He heard those things, but he didn't know the magnitude of what really was happening.
Yeah.
So when he came home, I went to his brother's house, picked him up. His brother, at the time, had gave him a couple of ounces. And when I picked him up, we talking or whatever. So he's telling me, he's giving me the OG and the little nigga talk, And yeah, I heard you doing a little something. I heard this and that. I heard, So I'm like, yeah. But he ain't knowing that I got 2 whole bricks right there in the back seat, So he like, well, what you doing, Such and such, I ain't gonna mention no names because he's out of the streets, and he's one of the very few people that I've seen get out of the streets without being scathed. I just got these from such and such, and I was like, oh yeah. So I reach over and I grabbed the duffel and I hit him in the chest with the 2 squares. He opened it up. And from there, when I tell you this is the best hustle I ever seen in my life besides my stepdad. When I gave him them 2, man, it was less than 2 hours later. When I dropped him off, he had all the money and some. This is the network that this dude had. You know what I mean? But his network, bro, was just so vast. And he was the type of cat that he was fearless when it came to publicity.
Mm-hmm.
So when he came back with that, I started moving like 1 a day, basically, with him. And he got me to relax and he got my guard down. So one particular day, my connect came with some more people. And they discovered what I was doing with the whip and with the rebrick. And at the numbers that they were giving me was like, man, we just wanted you to show us what you're doing. We're not going to change our numbers. This will give us an opportunity to see if we can, bring more and really connect with you. Mm-hmm. Really consign what you're buying. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I showed them what I'm doing. So at this time, I started buying like 4. When they saw what I was doing, man, they added 6 on top of that. So I had 10 units, bro. I had 10 birds. And the deal was, it was a guy that...
For how much at that time?
20 on delivery. Straight clean.
To the door.
To the door. Aztec Warriors, Spiders, and Madonna. Madonna used to come in red wrap with the Madonna picture on it.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the stamp that comes on the
brick.
But
the stamp that come on the brick. The Aztec and the Spider, sometimes we got scorpions too. But that Aztec and Madonna, we called it madness. Because man, it was such potent work. And it took so much of a cut that they couldn't even tell, man. People who would buy just straight powder. I had dudes that used to come from St. Louis that used to buy hard. And I was taking 10 grams, bro. I was just using to test it. First, I started out with 20. But it took so much water that it doubled in volume and weight, So I go down to 14. Man, it was so good. I dropped down to 10. And it still come back, bro. I promise you. 24, man. Even when the water sifted out of it. Because, I'm using powder milk and procaine on the cook, too. And they were buy all hard at $700 a unit. So can you imagine? I'm doing 72 at $700 a piece in one pop, Just the numbers, like I had cats from Alabama, cats from Greenville, South Carolina. They was coming and buying it like that. Either when they learned how to cook, though, that's when I put the thing on it with the press, right? But anyway, to get to the point, it was a guy, his nephew, when they started consigning me, they said, hey, we're going to consign you. We need my nephew to stay here with you. At the time, I had a condo in a place called Oakley. I'm like, cool, he can stay here at the condo, cool. Plus, he was added security too, because he was gonna just lay everything down. But I ain't operate like that. You know what I mean? You do good business, you ain't got to carry a gun. I always kept that motto.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So Jeff stayed with me. God bless Jeff. Jeff still at Atlanta USP right now. We trying to work on getting him out. And Jeff Dersey, what's up, bro? So Jeff stayed on the couch, and man, things just exploded, man, to the point to where I had to kind of tell them, like, hey, pump the brakes a little bit. You know what I mean? And at that point, what paradigm shifted me was my OG. He was like, look, man, I've never seen a U-Haul behind a hearse. You need to spend some of this money, man. You know what I mean? And at that time, my girl, she was working for a bank. So she was like, man, we can get houses. This money that we just hold, and we can take this money and we can buy houses and we can do, rentals and all that. So we got into that. But the detrimental part was I became flashy. I became to the point to where we riding all new whips. We riding super duper clean, tricked out. You know what I mean? And
the devil got a hold of him.
To the detriment of really not knowing that you're supposed to be planning an exit strategy. Nobody ever taught me an exit strategy. I've been selling drugs since I was 11, 12 years old.
An old Jamaican told me one time, man, at a youth, and it always stuck with me. He said, "Dirty money don't shine. Clean your money up, and then you can shine all that you want."
But that's a lie too. I'm gonna tell you why. I had a partner that I had a car wash called Saints Car Wash. Saints Car Wash was doing $3-4 grand a week on a busy intersection in our city that I partnered with. This guy was like an uncle to me. He's my cousin, dad. So I'm doing $1,500, $3 grand on that profit, splitting with him every week. On the club promotion tip, my uncle owned 3 nightclubs at the time. Any given month, man, we dump in to bring a show. I'm peeling off 5 to 6 racks. Back then, we was getting artists, bro, for $4,500. You see what I'm saying? Now it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, man. We was making bank. Then we're doing VIP bottle service where we get a case of White Star and for $17 a bottle, and we sell them in the club for $150. You know? Also doing numbers. I had a guy that I used to buy all of my whips from, and he got behind. He married into money. His wife was rich, and he owned pre-owned and import car dealerships. So I was a good customer of his, and I got turned on to him through another car dealer. They used to buy coke from me. He was $75,000 behind on his car dealership in debt. He didn't want his wife to know. So I invested in the car dealership and became a partner with him. So now I'm switching cars out every 2-3 days. I own it to buy here, pay a car out. I'm making like $7,000 a month. Bro, that's great money. But the problem was I'm doing $12,000 to $40,000 a week on the work. You follow me? So when I get to the point where I'm ready to just step away from the game, though, I have nobody to. Even my uncle that owned the clubs, he was in the streets back in the day, and he shifted out. He couldn't give me any real advice on how to do that because he owned concrete companies in a nightclub. We tried to buy another nightclub. Things didn't fall through for me. And then at that time, man, I was so hot as far as with law enforcement because we were moving and driving some of the craziest cars you ever want to see. And it got to a point to where my lawyer had to file a complaint against one of the field officers for DEA because they kept fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? And it was just, man, everything was so fast now that I sit back and I can really just think about it.
You was reacting to everything. That's all we were doing was reacting to the next thing.
I don't care how many trips you take. I don't care how much retail therapy you go and buying clothes. And bro, if you don't have a sense of who you are as a person and you don't have an end strategy. And another thing I discovered once I went to prison was I didn't understand business models. I knew how to hustle, and I knew the simple rules of business, which is supply and demand. I knew quality control. I knew logistics. I knew security. I knew how to set up a good racket when it comes to trafficking dope. But the only thing I knew how to do as far as in business, though, was invest because I had access to so much money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So how did it feel for you to sit in trial and see your partner pointing at you, describing your clothes?
Wow. It was, man.
Who's the rapper? Isn't the rapper going through that right now?
Young Thug. Bro, for me, it was painful because we were like brothers. And right now, bro, you know, being the mature man that I am, we were kids at that time. Nobody gets a pass, but, you know, I got a forgiving heart, you know. And, you know, so I ain't going to put him out there right now on that tip. But it's still painful because we came up from the dirt, man. And my mom was sitting right there in that front row who considered him as her son too. And to see him, I saw him prior to going into trial the first day. My trial was 2 days. The feds had him in a holding cell and they put me right next to him and we got a chance to talk. And I was just like, bro, man, what's up, man? He was like, man, don't do it, bro. Just, man, take the plea. I'm like, bro, I done already won 4. You never, bro, I never thought I was gonna lose the last count. But as we're talking, the DEA case agent came back in and cussed him out, bro, like he was this big. And we're in a partition with a plexiglass. And I'm just looking at the case agent, and he looking at me, and I actually cussed him out, the case agent. And my lawyer had came to the back to talk to me before I came out. They was getting ready to dress me out in my suit, you know. And man, it was crazy. I'm like, bro.
You know how these people be looking, man? Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Bro, that's one of my favorite shows.
Let me tell you.
Game of Thrones.
When your partner that you described and I described, when these people tell on you and they know that they are working with the government, their demeanor is like the dude from Game of Thrones that got caught by the evil guy that cut off his genitalia and was torturing him and made him his bitch.
You. Yeah.
The way that he was is how these rats are when these government officials come around. It's like their spine is just ripped out of these humans.
And it's funny though, bro, because you're right. Because I'm gonna tell you, man, my partner, man, on the street tip,
you feel so sorry for them, but
he was a warrior, bro. He was as solid as they came. Me, I'm a fighter, but I'm a thinker. I ain't no pushover, but I'm a thinker. I'm a diplomat. So I'm going to try to resolve a situation diplomatically, especially when I was in the streets, you know. With him, though, I would have to calm him down. Look, man, no, we ain't got to do that. We got too much going on.
Right.
Don't worry about that.
Right.
He ready to bang it out.
First one to go.
First one to go all in. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And he had my back and I had his. So for me to see that, it was like, it was heartbreaking, man, you know? And we had both had our daughters at the same time. Both our daughters the same age. And I was thinking about his daughter and my daughter too when I was in that holding cell, bro. So much went through my mind. And it's funny when the feeling you get when you dress out and they take the handcuffs off you and you got to walk into a courtroom and you see your people and you know your life on the line. And you know that this person who you care about so much is getting ready to come in there and testify against you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the weirdest feeling, man, in the world. You know, somebody who's had your back your whole life throughout way more dangerous stuff than what we're going through in this courtroom.
What makes you question everything? Because like I was saying earlier, it makes you reflect. Like there were many instances where I put my life on the line for this individual.
Yeah.
And to know that now you done that knowing that this person wouldn't have done the same for you.
But it's different in my situation too, because in 92, we had an 8 to 10 minute shootout. Nobody ever heard of this before. You ever heard of an 8 to 10 minute shootout?
On TV.
Bro, this is real shit. We had an 8 to 10 minute shootout. One of my homeboys robbed a dude that was dating a girl in our project. And he came out and was hitting licks in the project. And my homeboy, Mike Sellers, shout out to Mike. What's up, boy? Choked the dude out. And the dude, later on, he drug him around the building. Later on, the dude called all his people. And they came from a spot way out in a spot called Cantonment. And they rolled all the way out there, man, 4 cars deep, loaded with weapons, bro. But back then, everybody told it on the block. When they pulled into the projects, it just was all chaos hit. So they caught us off guard with the drop. So me and him were running around the building. I had a 9mm Taurus. And I done shot all 16 out of it. And we're running around the building and I tripped and fell. When I tripped and fell, the dudes was behind me with a shotgun. He turned around, he saw me, turned around and came back and grabbed me and pulled me up and said, nigga, come on, let's go. and pulled me into the cul-de-sac. We checked doors, man, and a door was open, and we slammed the door, and the dude shot a hole through the door like this. He saved my life, bro. He saved my life to the point to where, damn, you would never think that you would condemn it in the courts. You know what I mean? He risked his own life to save mine back then. But at this point, you know,
prison is a different thing.
It's evidently shit.
Prison is a different thing, man. Yeah. Prison is a different thing, but that's what they do, you know. I'm sitting in the county jail on this here. Dog, I got this thing beat. I'm sitting in the county jail. My case was so big, everybody heard about it. Right? I first land over here in Orient Road. When I land over here in Orient Road,
when they first opened it.
Yeah.
When I was one of the first
as the federal
inmates. The federal part was first.
Yeah.
I was one of the first 60 to open up Orient Road.
That's because they had 49th, what was it, 49th? Or what was the one that was
it was Morgan Street.
Morgan Street.
Yeah.
That was garbage. And they had to close it down. That was a hellhole.
That was the fair hold. And then I went to Morgan Street first.
I didn't go to
Then I
Morgan.
went to Orient Road. We was the first 60 people ever. Everything was brand new. This was 1999, bro.
This was 2004. Yeah. But so I lost trial. And now I'm sitting in the county jail waiting on sentencing. Everybody knows that I'm the one that went to trial. Right. Man, I got state inmates coming to me, homeboy. People that don't even know me. Man, listen, we heard about what happened to you. Man, them fuckboys were in here plotting and planning on you, sitting here talking about how they were going to testify against you. I said, yeah. I said, homeboy, will you help me out and put that in a statement? Right? Yeah. I started collecting statements.
I did that too, bro.
I started collecting statements from inmates. The prosecutor come and moved me from Orient Road and shot me way down to South Florida, right? I'm down there by Port St. Lucie, down there somewhere. I'm in that county jail. People know me. They're coming up to me. Oh, man, you Bahama Breeze. Yeah, man, we know. Hey, man, yeah, this dude was saying, man, write it down for me. I got statements from there. The prosecutor moved me from there to Orlando. Right? Now I'm sitting over in Orlando and I have this, pardon my French, I know we've been cursing, this is a grown show, but I have this fuck boy named Angelo LaRocco.
Attorney?
No.
Hot.
Inmate. Come to me, homeboy. I don't know him. He's from Spring Hill.
Yeah.
He comes to me, hey man, I heard you, I'm your co-defendant. I know you don't know me. I'm on Joe Schaefer's side. No, T. Not Schaefer. What's the other Joe's name? The one that started all the one of Schaefer, not Schaefer, but Joe, something like Schaefer, but whatever his fuck ass name is. But so LaRocco comes to me and he tells me about what's going on, how it's all messed up, man. I got respect for you for going to trial, all this blase squad. So I tell him, listen, this is what I got going on. Cause he tells me, he's like, man, he goes, I knew about you. The agent wanted me to testify against you. The agent came and showed me your picture and all that, but I didn't really have nothing to say. All this jive.
Right.
So I tell him, I said, well, check this out. I say, I got this thing going. I got a motion going in based on this because these agents were going around talking all this, prepping, coaching.
They call it snitch mind.
Keeping these people, because when you testify against somebody, if me and you are testifying against this person, we cannot be together in the cell.
No.
We cannot be together in the dorm. We cannot have no interaction with each other while this man was going to trial. But yet in my case, me and you were cellies. Mm-hmm. We're playing dominoes. We're sitting down talking about, listen, but this is what you got to say. And all that played out through my trial. You know what I mean? And the judge even coached it. The judge was coaching the trial.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And coaching the jury on what to think and don't. Even though that their stories really didn't match, one would say nighttime, another one would say daytime. Just always keep in mind that they all said cocaine.
Wow.
You know what I mean? The judge told, it's in my transcripts, the judge told the jury that.
Right.
What's important is the drugs. Because time of day, we can forget about the little things like that, but what was important was the drugs.
That was definitely he left his role as an impartial orbiter. Yeah,
So
he wasn't neutral at that point.
this whole time, when this motion comes, long story short, right? We're starting to get pressed for time. We got to close it up. I know y'all been riding with us. Thank you very much. But
Yeah.
I put in this motion based upon newly discovered evidence, right? These people that testified at trial against me have to come back to this motion. They're all pissed off now because they're on their compounds.
Right, and they got to come.
They
back.
got to come off their compounds to come testify. And now everybody on the compounds know that these are hot ass dudes, and they're mad at me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of dudes that they are. They're mad at me now because everybody knows they're a rat. Yeah. So the last person to come on the stand is Angelo LaRocco.
The dude that said he could
over in Orlando, agent. Right? Because when I offer this to him, he tells me, he's like, no, you know what? He goes, I talked to my grandfather because I'm really trying to plea out and I just don't want to get involved in that mess. You know what I mean? I'm like, cool, all right, whatever. He comes up and testifies that I tried to proffer his statement with cookies, commissary cookies. I tried to buy his statement to say that this is what the feds were doing. This is what he gets up on the stand to testify as. So the judge says, well, if he was trying to buy your statement, then he bought all these other guys' statement from the state. Because I had dudes came from state. They were fighting their own cases on state
That's
trial.
That's what we got in common too, man. Shout out to Greedy Man from New Orleans.
Jose Ortiz.
Yeah. Greedy Man, he was one of the same confidential sources was jumping cases. And the confidential source was a dude named Angela Brown. They called him Duty. He used to be my brother-in-law. And because I dated his sister. But the feds would call me out of the cell as if my lawyer was downstairs. And he would go, they put him in the cell with me because everybody on that floor was on federal hold or they were already indicted. They put him in the cell with me, brought him back from, I think he was in Tallahassee at the time. And they would call me out and he would go through my paperwork. You know what I mean? And find out information. And dudes would tell me, man, that's your brother-in-law? No, he going through your stuff, you know? So he ended up being one of the people that testified against me in my trial. Mm-hmm. But you know the funny part about it? His brother, which is my partner, we like this, man. Spook testified for me. I got one brother testifying against me, saying that I sold him 4 keys. And then I got the other brother testifying, no, that D ain't deal with my brother. Because I didn't deal with Duty like that. And if it was a third party. He didn't know. He just was trying to save his own skin. But Greedy Man, he was also on Greedy Man case too. Greedy Man out of New Orleans. And Greedy Man made a statement for me, signed, notarized. Bunch of cats did, man. If I'm forgetting y'all, man, it ain't intentional, man. It's just been a long time. I did 17 years, 8 months, and on 20. I did all mine to the door, no 5K1, no Route 35, no government assistance, none of that. Went to trial, did mine to the door. And but I know we short on time. After all of them came back and testified, because when I got found guilty, I was only supposed to get 7 years because I never been to prison. My points were so low. Mm-hmm. And that last case was for the 9 ounces. The half a key, there was no audio, right? And no video. So they had the police report wrote up that I had sold it, but there was no control and no audio. Mm-hmm. The Lord always does what he does to me. Anyway, but I did, the quarter key came all the way through. So that's what they went with me on the trial with, right? How they got this person who bought the work from me was my first cousin's husband's brother. He had been hounding me so long about, man, help me out. And I was out the streets at the time. And I ran into him because I was connecting with a girl that he was dating, a Colombian chick. And me and her was kicking it. And when I found out who her dude was, it was him. So I kind of tried to clean it up and just stayed up under him because I actually basically raised him, me and his older brother, you know what I mean, from the same hood as me from the west side. And he just kept asking me, bro, I know you still be doing your thing because you know your reputation beseech you. And at that time, man, I was clowning in the streets, man, with the stuff that we was doing, showing our ass pretty much. And I had a midnight black Suburban at the time, man, with the starlight in it, with the redwood oak cabinets, and I had the Orion 612 Orion Gold
Love
Series.
Suburbans, boy.
Yeah, so I'm just really just kicking it, going back and forth to Atlanta. My sister was in Atlanta at the time. We was doing some stuff up there. But I say that to say this. He turns out to be working for the case agent because my cousin's husband was in Atlanta and had told him, look, go see my case agent. When you go see my case agent, he's going to give you a target. The target was me. He went and saw the case agent. The case agent said, hey, you need to find him because your brother has a relationship with him. I'm not knowing that my cousin had left her husband. So he's bitter, and I'm his ticket out because, you know, you reach that plateau when in the DEA, whatever area that they're in, is the top 10 for whatever region. So me and my partner had reached that top 2, you know? And me not knowing, I'm riding with him, and I still was kind of navigating and facilitating weed deals. You know, 50 pounds here, 100 pounds there. And he just kept asking me about coke. The chances are a dude that I knew from Miami that had a trucking company popped up with some numbers that was just so spectacular. He was clean though. I make the purchase, and you know when you jump back in the streets, you always call the first people who you feel is most secure in your immediate circle. My little homie had been calling me about work. Man, put me on. I called him, not knowing that he called in the case agent. He did 3 buys on me to get his brother out of prison. So I get found guilty. They bring all the federal witnesses back to my state sentencing hearing. I'm thinking I'm finna get 7 years. My lawyer, I had a Jewish lawyer at the time named Burton Strubar, and I fired him because whole nother show. So I rehired my old lawyer, who had a car accident. He was in the courts with a scaffold on his neck. This is my boy though. God bless the dead from Ted. But as we go through the sentencing hearing, the state and my federal prosecutor who funded the whole case came and sat beside my state prosecutor in state court. And they asked for a statute of enhancement called continual criminal enterprise. Never had heard this before in my life. So I'm asking my lawyer, what's this? This is why I fired him. Oh, they just saying that you was running a business in jail and it's nothing. We're going to get you these 7 years. When they said we seeking 30 years to life under this enhancement, Your Honor, I got new counsel. I need to, me and him not seeing eye to eye. You can do that with private counsel. I got rid of him that day and got my old lawyer back. Bro, they bring all of these people, they bring 17 people back from federal prison, testify as to my role in the drug trade. I brought just as many to testify to all the good stuff that I was doing in the community, sponsoring
I don't give a shit about that.
games, but I still wanted it on the record.
Right.
For appellate process, appellate purposes. But it did help. I'll tell you why it helped. After the state had put together their their aggravating circumstances to get me between 30 to life, and my team put together the mitigating circumstances, the letters and people from the community, my trial was packed. My sentencing hearing was 3 days, my trial was 2. My sentencing hearing was longer than my trial. So when the judge got the last arguments, my lawyer went up first. Ted did his thing. The state came up behind him, and he brought the federal agents testified, the state case agents, all of it. And they talked about all the surveillance, all of the stuff, everything. You know how they do. The judge said, I'm going to take a recess, and I'm going to sit on this for 2 days. He adjourned for 2 days to make a decision. Finally, my lawyer said the judge put in an order for us to be in court tomorrow. My lawyer came to see me at the jail. I get to the court that next morning, dress out, go before the court. The judge said, I feel the state, and we thank the federal government for assisting with this case. But I have to wonder, this kid, he's a kid. He did all of this before the age of 21. I just have to imagine there's no bodies in this case. There's no one saying that he committed any type of violence. Even at a time, the case agency even said he was pleasant. Because they used to have lenses outside my house like this, and I walk out, bro. Plenty of time I done walked out. Y'all want something to drink?
Yeah.
Y'all want food? You know what I mean? And
what you need that big lens for? I'm right here, man.
Yeah. And other instances, I got something else for another show too that I'll tell you about that somebody pulled with me with an agent anyway. But the rental car people came and testified because we had 5 cars for 4 months. You know, the bill that we was paying, the outlaws,
everything. Yeah, they bring
the
everything.
whole 9, yo.
The feds
just
don't play.
Crazy.
The feds break your life down, boy.
But the judge said, it'll be a disservice to the courts to sentence him to that length of a sentence. Because I feel that if he could do all of that before the age of 21, I feel he can do so much more if he get his life together.
Mm-hmm.
So he looked at me and said, this is going to be a lesson to you that you have an opportunity to get your life together.
Mm-hmm.
But so in that, I'm going to sentence you to 20 years in state prison rather than 30 years to life in prison that the state government is asking for in your case.
That prosecutor was hot too.
They was hot, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
They was hot. Me, bro, it didn't even feel, I felt calm. You know why? Because I knew what I was facing in federal court because I had 2 prior crack cases in the 90s.
Mm.
So my offensive level in federal court was 44. There was no question. Lacey Collier was gonna sentence me to life sentence if I would have went to trial. I was going, you know, I wasn't playing or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But to get that, it was a relief. I looked at my folks and I did a thumbs up because I just felt a sense of peace, man.
Mm-hmm.
That all of this process, bro, took 3.5 years. I sat in the county 3.5 years.
Now you can focus.
Now I can focus. But to wrap it all up, man.
Mm-hmm.
For you cats that's out there that, you know, in the streets, it's a new era. I know you're trying to get your money. I know where you come from. I come from that same situation. I know up until now there's nothing for you to transition out of the street hustle. But now it is. We got a course that's coming out called Hustle Smarter, man. It's an entrepreneurial prep course and lifestyle and personal development course specifically tailored just for you in your language, and it hits all the key points of a street hustle and what you go through, from hustle innovation to transitioning your street hustle into a legal business, to reflection marketing, to the language where we teach you how to translate business language into boardroom terminology, even to Suited to Success, man. You can still be street and still have your street cred, but also be a professional at the same time in how you dress, because you want to be the person, you want to market yourself as the person you want people to look at you as. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you can't make the transition to the next level, you're just storing the riches up from the wicked for the righteous. So
you have to look like you want other people to look at your business.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? How you want other people to view your business, that's the look that you have to be.
Like being branded. You know, this is
being branded.
This is the nonprofit, our Smart Justice branding. We also have the program branding, which is Hustle Smarter, which we're going to be putting that online too. But that's a jewel right there. You have to look the part, bro. You have to look premium. It's not enough to go and buy a Porsche and you still, you know, parking it in the projects, or you still living with your baby moms, or you got a cash business and it's a front. And people gonna come snatch it, man, or they're gonna give you a boatload of time. The most influential figure in popular culture ain't a rapper. It's not a mega church pastor. It's not an entrepreneur that owns all the stores up the block. The most influential figure in popular culture is a street hustler. That's the first example of entrepreneurship that we see as people that come from the projects and urban communities, because
You can touch them.
You can touch them. They're
Touch them.
accessible.
They're right there. They're right there on the block. I can go ask them for shoes.
Yeah, you can't go to LeBron. LeBron ain't accessible. You can't go to Odell Beckham. He ain't accessible. You can't go to Damon John. He ain't accessible. But guess who was accessible? Big Meech was accessible. Harry O was accessible even in jail. He wrote a check to Suge Knight for $1.5 million for death row. Yeah. He was accessible. Wasn't nobody else accessible for that. Me, myself in the streets, and all my homies that came up in the street, we were accessible. We took care of people. Mm-hmm. So at that level, these kids see us as the only viable means of getting out of poverty. And guess what? You got legal business. I teach illegal business versus legal business in the course. Mm-hmm. In illegal business, the barrier of entry of getting into the streets is low. But the barrier of being really successful is high. A lot of people think you get into the street game, you're just going to be successful. You got another thing coming. But in legal business, the barrier of entry of getting into legal business is high because you don't understand what it takes to start that legal business, set up the right team, set up the right business model, position yourself for credit. We teach that. But guess what? Once you reach that element, then the barrier of success is low because you got a viable product and you're legit, and you did it best. You sold a product that you can't market. You can't market legally. You can't get a bullhorn and go in the corner and tell people you got drugs. You have to be ingenuitive. We're so intelligent. We're just using our intelligence to sell the wrong product. Think about had we known this, Thomas, 20-some years ago, when we had enough cash to fund anything that we wanted to fund.
That was the thing. I had this cash and no clue on what to do with it.
Right.
No clue what to do with it. But so with that, wrapping up for the evening, the moral of the story, right? Because I always like to end on a positive note because, again, my show isn't about glorifying crime. It's not about glorifying prison or anything of that nature. And our intention wasn't to come on here to slander other human beings. Right?
Not at all.
Our intention is to come on here to let the children know the type of devils that run within these human beings and that we can put ourselves in these precarious situations. And for me, I spent a large portion of my life so angry at these human beings for what they done, but it had to come to the realization for me that I put myself in this position because I knew that these people were soft. But because I was so insecure and I was looking for love and all this stuff that we go through as adolescents coming into adulthood, not understanding who we are coming from, we just want companionship and all this crap is what allowed me to sacrifice what I knew and put me in danger ways. So when it comes to these kids, you have to understand, like you said, right? Like you said earlier, you were surrounded by people where you knew you were the most elevated of them. Yeah. And I heard something, it was Steve Harvey on his morning show one morning, where he said, if you have your friends around you and you have nobody to go to answer questions, you have nobody to go to talk to, but all your friends can come talk to you, then it's time for you
to get out of that circle.
You need to get out of that circle. Because there's no growth for you. You're helping other people grow, but you're not growing. Right. And what's going to end up happening is these people are going to keep you down and hold you down to where they're at. So it's not to slander these human beings because these human beings are who they are. They had no spine. They're spineless human beings. And that's who they are. But I chose to surround myself with these people. So I can blame nobody but myself and be more conscious to who I choose to tie myself to, and know who these people are and know that when it really comes down to it, there's not too many people on this planet who's going to stick by your side. One thing we didn't get a chance to touch on was when I came home from prison, nobody was there. You know who was there? It was my father, my stepmother, and my daughter meeting me for the first time outside of prison. She didn't even know who I was. She never seen me in street clothes. So here I am standing in front of my daughter in street clothes, and she don't even recognize me. But yet when all of these snitches came home, there was parties for them. There was these things, because what I didn't realize is the people that are throwing them the parties are the ones that accept them, because those are the same type of crowd.
Yeah.
I'm so far and few between, nobody could stand for what I stood for. And they didn't even want to associate with that because they felt so small. That's why I was by myself, and that's why I walk alone, because the walk, like you and I, are so far and few between.
Yeah.
But the moral of the story, kids, is always know, going into any situation, that before you go into this situation, ask yourself, can I deal with the consequences? Can I deal with the consequences of these actions? Because it's not right to tell on somebody else because I made a choice to do something, and now I don't want to live with those consequences. So therefore, I want somebody else to live with those consequences, because I promise you, your life will constantly be altered. We had to go do our time, but when we walked into that prison, our head was held high. We were never called a rat, a snitch. Our food wasn't pissed in. We weren't spit on, none of these things. And now we're not out here in society trying to be something that we're not. Because nobody, I promise you, you will not walk around anywhere and find anybody that says, yeah, I'm a snitch. Yeah, I'm a snitch. I'm happy to be a snitch. You know what I mean?
Except for Charleston White. But I think all that's coming, though. But
again, a lot of it, but
But
Charleston White,
right.
69, these people, they're set in life.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They got money where they can sit back and they can say, yeah, I'm a snitch. I'm a millionaire. It doesn't matter. You can't hurt me.
Yeah.
But I promise you this. Those dudes, no matter how much they fake about it, when they're in a dark alley by themselves, they're looking over their shoulders. They're making sure they have somebody with them, or they're making sure they're not in these dark alleys, because they know what's coming to them if they ever get caught in the wrong place. And that is a prison that you live in for the rest of your life.
That's real.
So with that being said, man, I appreciate you coming through and sharing your stories, man. We bring these stories. They're touching for us. They're emotional. They're very emotional for me to dig this stuff up. But we share them so that these children understand to stay away from this stuff. I will never sell drugs again, because I understand now that I was selling poison to my people who are trying to survive. And I was living off other people's misery. And that is something I will never be part of again, because I am about my community. I'm about my people. I'm about empowering people and lifting people up. And I will never sell drugs to my people again who are just trying to survive. So I won't be part of that.
Yeah, me too, man. It was a genocide. Definitely, we're, like my brother said, we're all about community. We got two of the top criminal justice, smart justice organizations here in Tampa, Hillsborough, who really doing work. We out here doing work, man. Check us out on our Instagrams. Check us out on our websites. Also, just the last message for me, man. Thank you for giving me this platform. But kids and street hustlers, man, it's no excuse for you guys now, because you got the internet. You got all the game in the world. You got an opportunity to just look at whatever it is that you want to do at your fingertips. And also you have, what we're rolling out at Synapses Entrepreneur and Tech Conference on the 14th, which is the first ever course for street hustlers to transition to social entrepreneurs. That same money that you're getting in the streets, man, you can 10x it by 10 times. And it's, for me, I did it the hard way. Right now, am I transitioning right now as a millionaire? Absolutely, because I put in the work. That's our brand brief for the organization. But man, I put in the hard work for you and created this course and lifestyle course for you for a reason, so you won't have to make the same mistakes I made coming home. I came home and I had to test the water and really find out how to get these things done that's culturally relevant for us. Thomas did the same thing, man. There was nothing like what we've developed for us. And that was in my mind. What do we need as an enterprising guy from impoverished communities that just want to get money and don't want to poison the community. How can we use those gifts that we got and was so successful in illegal entrepreneurship, which is 10 times harder than legal entrepreneurship? What are the things that we need to make us successful? And that's what we've come up with Hustle Smarter. So with that being said, man, much love. Shout out to all the cats that's in the joint, man, that's holding it down.
Absolutely, man. Come together, unite inside.
Yeah, love to the families who are missing loved ones due to incarceration. And man, we're in University Mall, 2217 University Square Mall. We're right next to Jimmy Jazz. Stop in, man, and tap in with me if you're here in the Tampa area. If I'm not in, my staff is in. Shakira and Joel and Nate. Let's make it happen, man. Let's do something. So shout out to P. Cola too in the building. We'll be in P. Cola next. You know what I mean? That's my hometown, Pensacola, Florida. You know, more ballers in Pensacola, Florida than in the NFL and in Major League Baseball. Derrick Brooks, Emmitt Smith.
All right, we gotta go, man. We love you guys. Stay safe, stay blessed, man. It's been real. I have Damon on here again, man. Thank you again. I know it's been a long show, but this has been crucial messages. So love you guys. See you next Saturday. Peace.